Online registration. What is OLR, online registration? Online registration enrolls students new to the district and returning students in their neighborhood schools based on household address. What documentation do I need for the OLR? A detailed list of required and optional documentation can be found on the BVSD online registration website and outlined later in this video. Who should fill out the OLR? Parents or guardians with educational decision-making rights for the student. When should the OLR be completed? Only once for new students or students that are returning to BVSD after having attended another school district. The OLR is available as early as January of the same calendar year as the school year of which the student will begin. In other words, as early as January for new students to attend in August. The OLR does not need to be submitted each year for students. How do families fill out the OLR? The online registration is located online within BVSD's enrollment website. Families will need an active email address to submit. Families will not need to set up a username or password to submit the enrollment. There is not a paper version of the online registration. How long does the OLR take to complete? The OLR is designed to enroll all students in the household, one per family. Depending on how many students are in your family, and if you have all of your documentation prepared ahead of time. The OLR may take around 20 minutes to complete for one student. This video. The following video will walk you through how to fill out your student's OLR. You can rewind, fast forward, or pause this video at any time in the process. This video is also available in Spanish if you would like to view it instead. Este video será disponible en español si prefiere seguir en español. Let's get started. In any browser, you can go to bvsd.org. That's BVSD, like Boulder Valley School District. That will bring you to the home page. You'll hover over the word Parents right in here at the very top corner and go down to Enrollment. Click on Enrollment, and a new page should open up. Once you do so, you'll scroll down on Enrollment until you see the three pictures here. What we're looking for is a K-12 neighborhood online registration. Preschool has their own. So if you have a preschooler, you want to click on this side. What we're looking for is not open enrollment because that is designed for kiddos to apply to a school outside of their neighborhood school. What we are doing today is the OLR, which is applying to your neighborhood school. You click on Begin Registration there. That will open up a new window that goes to our online registration page. Here that you will see a little bit of details as to what online registration is, when it is open, things like that. If you don't know where your neighborhood school is or which neighborhood school belongs to your address, you can click here to our school finder function, and you will enter your address right in there, and it will tell you which elementary, middle, and high school is assigned to your school. Documentation, we have two forms of required documentation. One is proof of identity, and that will be outlined here. Kindergarten students must be a minimum age of 5 before October 1. First grade students must be a minimum age of 6 before October 1. Most commonly used proof of identity documentation is a birth certificate or passport. You can also upload in this section of the OLR any kind of guardianship paperwork if your name is not listed on the student's birth certificate. Any kind of legal paperwork that you need will also be required on there, depending on your situation. The next required document that we have is a proof of residence or address. We go over a little bit of detail. If you own your home, we can accept one of those. If you lease or rent your home, we will accept one of the following. However, if your family is living with another family, we must have both of the following down here, and those are listed in detail. If your family's living situation is not outlined above, you can certainly call the enrollment line at 720-561-5600 5247 for assistance. Otherwise, these are the three major categories that we have in order to submit documentation. Please note that for that documentation, along with the proof of identity, we do need to see the full page of the document. It cannot be, for instance, if you're using a bill, it can't be the bottom section of the bill that you send in. It needs to be the full document that it goes for lease agreements as well. It needs to be the full signed documentation. So do be aware of that. Your enrollment will be held up if you do not provide that correctly. The next two documentations are proof of immunizations. It goes into detail there. There will be a section that will be optional on the OLR for that, as well as proof of grades and transcripts, as well if your student previously attended school elsewhere. If you're ready to enroll, have the documentation ready, you'll click here. Just want to point out that there are some frequently asked questions down at the bottom. If you have any questions about boundaries, about children's ages, things like that, that will all be mentioned down here. So be sure to read through that if you have any questions. If you are if you are a parent with a new kindergartner, there will also be a section for you here, kindergarten enrollment frequently asked questions, that goes into detail with quite a bit of frequently asked questions that we receive from kindergarten parents there. So do be aware that there are quite a bit of answers to your questions that you may have now that are located down here in the frequently asked questions section of the online registration website. Otherwise, you'll click here when you're ready to enroll and have collected all of the documentation. This is the beginning of the online registration. You'll select your languages here. In this case, I'll click English, and this will pop up. This is asking for a parent or guardian first and last name. So do be aware that this is for a parent or guardian, not the student information quite yet. You'll select your registration year here. In this case, we'll go 2021. And anything with a red asterisk will be required. So in this case, we're asking for a parent or guardian email address. You'll enter that there, and a verification one more time, same email address for us there. The last thing you will do on this section is the last two things you'll do on this section is check the box if the student has attended school in BVSD in the past. Otherwise, you just leave it blank. And the last thing you'll do is verify that you are not a robot in the CAPTCHA form here. So in this case, you just enter whichever letters there are listed there that you see, and you'll click on Begin Registration. Please note that once you do that, you will receive an email to the email address that you had listed there, and you can open up the application directly through that email address. Once you receive the email, it will look like this. Welcome to online registration. It will come from bbsd.campus.messenger@bbsd.org. You do want to double check that it has not been sent to your spam or junk folder before you call us to see where it went. Otherwise, this is our test person here. It will tell you and remind you again that you need household information, parent, student information, emergency contact with phone numbers as well. It will remind you that you need to select any type of dates like this and phone numbers and the full version of how they come. So otherwise, the link is located at the bottom. There is a phone number here if you get stuck. That goes to Enrollment Help Desk. That's 720-561-5247. Otherwise, you click inside of that email and the page pops up here with the application here. You will be asked again to select your language that is preferred. It gives you a couple of times to select it in case you changed your mind. In this case, we'll select English. And you will type in your, as a parent or guardian, your name and your first and last name. All that is saying is that you acknowledge that you are a person that is authorized to submit this enrollment for the student or students in question. Once you hit submit, again, we'll remind you what the documentation is that you need, and you'll click begin down at the bottom here. First, it starts with, so there's going to be a few tabs here, depending on how many students you have. It may take a little bit longer, but you'll have a primary household information that you need to put in. A home phone number doesn't necessarily have to be a landline, but it could be anything that is quickly opened. The biggest thing to note is on these applications, on each one of these sections, you will see a red sentence here that says, for more information, click on this link. That will bring you to something similar to this. Which outlines what it is that we're asking for. It gives you more information. And if you are not sure about that information, you can always call us at this number again, or enrollment.helpdesk@bvsd.org for more help. But otherwise, that is what those look like. So each one of these sections. So if you're not too sure what the home phone is looking like, or if you have any questions about home address, that's where you're going to need to click, and it gives you more detail as to what it is that we are looking for. In this case, we will just look for Main Street, nothing too formal. Just to go through the sections. It is very important that you follow the exact type of information that we're asking for in this situation. So the house and building number is just the beginning of your address. So if it's 123 Main Street, so it's the very beginning, 123. If it's 123 North Main Street, you'll click on the direction. Make sure you use that drop down here. Some people accidentally put in the full address in this section, and it kind of messes up with our system, so we have to go in and correct it. So as much information as you can put in where it is that it's asking you for, the better and the faster your enrollment will go. So in this situation, I'm not going to pick that Louisville. I'll just pick a random city that will tell us what that address is. If the address is already in our system, it will pop up similar to that pop-up that just went down. Then you'll select it, and it will tell you which schools are assigned to that particular address. In this case, we're just putting this in. If you have an apartment number or a mobile home unit number, townhome number, condo number, anything like that, you'll put it in here. Otherwise, just make sure that you're using the drop down for the street type. There's several different types of street types, so you want to make sure that you select the right one. If it's a circle, if it's a street, an avenue, boulevard, you make sure you enter it here. Otherwise, the street name will only be, in this case, 123 Main Street. So make sure you put that in, and just make sure that you're not adding a space similar to that in there, because it does pull our systems off a little bit. This is the section that you will upload your utility bill. It will ask you for that there. In this case, so the blank form will be right in there. I'm pulling up a blank form on here. The biggest thing to note about uploading any type of documents here is that the document cannot have a symbol in the naming convention. You cannot name it, house dash whatever the name is. Just make sure that there's no symbols. And we do have a maximum capacity of 5 megabytes on this section. So preferably if you're taking a picture on your cell phone of the document and uploading it there, you want to take it in black and white and then upload it accordingly. Or if you're able to use a scanner, that usually will reduce the size of the documentation. And if it's still too big, you want to go ahead and reduce that if you know how to do that. If you don't know how to do that and it's still giving you issues, feel free to email enrollment.helpdesk@bvsd.org, and our staff can help you upload it for you. So you don't need to struggle with that. But otherwise, it is 5 megabytes maximum and no symbols in the naming convention. That goes for all of our downloads. Once you have uploaded something there for your address, depending on the documentation that you may have, you'll click on Next. And then enter any kind of mailing address in case you have a P.O. box, or if you have mail going to a separate address that is not your physical address as above. Once you hit that, you'll hit Save and Continue. It'll go to the parent or guardian section. This is for yourself. Make sure you understand that. Press OK. This person's name is Test that I'm just doing. Male, female, non-binary is are the options there. Whatever your birth date is, you can certainly enter it. It is not required because it does not have a red asterisk in it. And once you're done with that, you'll click on Next. Again, each section will have this. For more information, click on this link so that you can do so on this side. You will need to enter again a cell phone or a work phone. This is for this particular parent. So if there's two parents, then you will enter each parent on this section. You will also enter in an email address for each one if they have any. Preferred language, you want to click English if you're an English speaker and prefer everything in English. Otherwise, there's languages that you can select there. Once you're done, you click Next. This talks about being a migrant worker, whatever your answer is, you're going to click on, and we're going to put no for this test person. Click on Next. Another question about active military duty, you want to click yes or no on there, depending on your situation. Volunteering information as well, you want to click yes or no. I'll click no for this person, and then you'll hit save and continue, and that will take you back to the initial list of parents or guardians up above. If you have another person to add, then you'll add new parent or guardian here. Otherwise, you can go on to the next section by hitting save and continue. This section is the emergency contacts section. Emergency contacts are adults that do not live in your home that the school would potentially call in case of an emergency. Of course, parents or guardians are called first. If you are unable to be reached by phone, then you put in an emergency contact that will be able to answer and therefore get a hold of you in case of an emergency. This person cannot live in your household, and this person does not have to necessarily be a local person. It can be somebody out of state that would just be able to get a hold of you at the same time that we're trying to reach you as well in case of an emergency. So you want to add, we ask that you have at least one person on emergency contact listed. You can have several. It just has to be somebody over the age of 18. Like I said, the other thing to note about emergency contact folks is that they are able to pick up your student from school with proper identification. So if you have a babysitter or something like that that you'd like to add as an emergency contact, you can certainly put them here in this section and they're able to do that. And you can change your emergency contact folks in your student's account through your school's registrar if it changes throughout the school year. But for now, we're going to put in, just going to put EC for emergency contact. It can be an aunt, it can be an uncle, it can be a cousin, whatever it is that you feel comfortable with. We just ask that you have one. And you can put in their phone number. Again, I'm just putting a test person. And then if you happen to have their address, you can give us their address. If not, it is not required because it does not have a red asterisk there. Once you're done, you hit save and continue. And it will take you back to the list of emergency contacts again under here. If something is missing, it will be in yellow, so you want to return to it and see what type of missing information needs to be filled out at that time. If you want to add more emergency contacts, you can do that there. You'll hit save and continue once you're done with that. This takes us to the Other Household tab, which is next. Note that Other Household member basically is another child that lives in your household that is not of in school age. So maybe a new baby, maybe a sibling that does not currently attend a school in Boulder Valley Schools, but it is part of the family. You want to make sure that you have them noted on here. So if you don't have anybody in your other household section, say maybe you have one student in your family and that's the one you're about to enroll, then you don't need to put anything there. So I'm going to cancel on that, but it'll be the same information similar to um, the emergency contact section. The only difference is that we don't require somebody to be put into other households. So just note that it is a child, not an adult, that does live in your household that is not going to be enrolled. Once you're done, you hit save and continue. This will bring you to the biggest section. This is the student section. So if you have one student or two students or three students, just however many students that you're enrolling. And by the way, if you have students that are already part of BVSD and you are now enrolling, say, a kindergartner or somebody that's just new, please just put their name on here and they will be enrolled. But they do definitely need to have a new enrollment because they are new students to our system. So in this case, we'll hit New Student. This will have a few more tabs for you to fill out. For the sake of this test, I'll just put Child Test here. and a date of birth. Oh, make sure that you're putting 01 dash 02 dash whatever the child's age is. We'll just pretend this person's going into kindergarten, the 2015 date of birth. We'll enroll them into kindergarten here. So the enrollment grade, you're looking for a requested start date. The actual start date looks like is determined by the student's school, but you'll say, hey, today's Monday, I'd like for them to start maybe Wednesday or whatever the case is. You do have to put in a certain date. You can use this tool here. So for us, we can use the first day of school, which looks like this year will be August 26th. You'll want to put down the country of birth, wherever the student was born in. Has really no effect on there, but it is required for you to state it. So we'll put United States on there. Is the student a foreign exchange student? If you are going through a foreign exchange agency, you will know what that is. If you don't know what this is, that means your student is not a foreign exchange student. So we'll click no in this instance. Once this form is uploaded here, a reminder again of maximum of 5 megabytes and no symbols in the naming convention, or else this will not accept it here. Once you are done, you can click next. We are required to ask your race and ethnicity for your student. You can click on whatever it is that you'd like here. Is your student Hispanic or Latino? And then check anything that applies here. So in this case, we'll just select anything here and click on next. If you have more questions about that section, you can certainly click on the for more information, click on this link sentence there. When we're talking about housing, we do need to ask if the student lacks fixed, adequate, or nighttime residence. So in other words, we're asking if the student is homeless. You will click yes or no on here accordingly, and we will take the information from there. Student services, such as IEPs, 504s, this is the section where you want to put that in. If they do have an IEP or a 504, you want to hit yes accordingly, and then it will take you to a different drop down. This is not a section where you will upload an IEP or 504 plan. You will take that directly to the school once the student is enrolled. Just know that. If you don't know what an IEP or 504 is, you want to click on this link here, and it goes into detail as to what it is. Otherwise, you'll click no and hit next. This is language information, talks about what language is used in the household and for the student. What language did they use when they began to talk? What language do they read and write in? Things like that. So for this student, we're going to click English. Depending on your student, you will click that accordingly. Every student will be different, so want to make sure that you don't mark everything down as English. This is just for our test person. Has your student ever received English second language services? You want to hit yes or no there. And then if they've ever attended school in another country, you want to click that as well. Otherwise, you'll click next. This is the enrollment history. This is where you will upload a transcript or report card. This is that optional documentation we spoke about earlier. And this is the section where you tell us what the last school was for your student. If the student is new, like this one, test person is a kindergartner that's never attended school. So I won't put anything down on this section, but you will state the most recent school for any students that are new, maybe a high schooler that has been in school before, because we do need to call that school if the student is middle school age or above. So you want to make sure you put the information there. If you have any questions, click on for more information on this link. Otherwise, click next. We do need to know what your tribal enrollment may be. Yes or no, does the student have an active enrollment in a United States tribe? If the answer is no, you'll click no. If the answer is yes, you'll click yes, and it will take you to a different section. This tab goes into relationships of the parents or guardians. So this particular person only has one parent or guardian. You're going to say, oh, yes, that's the father of the child, and you can click or unclick this. Are they the guardian? Yes. Would you like mail to go to them? Yes. Different things like that. All of that is detailed down on this bottom section, down below. So you want to click on that because it is a red asterisk, so you need to fill that out. Otherwise, it will say it's missing. This is the next section of the emergency contact. So in this case, we just put EC for an emergency contact. That's the name of the person. Maybe it's an aunt of the child, and you want to put that accordingly. But there is different types of relationships that you could put in there. Step parents, grandparents, things like that. If you don't have, if it's not named on here, feel free to just push emergency contact, and that will suffice on there. We'll click next. This section talks about health services, emergency information, and you can read through that and fill that out accordingly if you would like. It is optional because it does not have a red asterisk on there. After that, you'll click next. On here, you'll click if the student has medical or mental health conditions that the school needs to be aware of. Otherwise, you click no. And if you need more information, you'll click on here as to what that means. After that, you'll click next. Health services, medications, immunizations. This is the section where you will upload your most recent immunization record or exemptions for your student. To find out what that means or more information, you'll click on that red sentence there. Otherwise, no medications, you'll click on that. Or if there is a medication, you'll click the medication and it'll give you more information as to what to fill out there. Once you're done, you'll click next. Next are the release agreements. All of these release agreements are very different from one another. You want to click on each one of these and read them on your own time. Once you are done reading them, you'll click I have read and understood each one of them. So it has to do with academic honesty, code of conduct, attendance, directory information, just different things. You want to look at each one of them and just browse through them for any kind of information. The thing that you're clicking on here is not necessarily that you are agreeing to each one of these agreements. It's that you have read and understood what each one means. So you want to click on each one. After that, you'll click next. The last tab for this student, you want to read through this. I understand about media coverage, talks about technology, things like that. Some of our schools do what's called a one-to-web program. So you want to read through that by clicking on there. Not all schools do, so you want to click on the agreement there and agree if that's naming your school that you have read and understood the agreement there. Once you're done, you want to sign your name as legible as possible by clicking down on the mouse and signing it there. Once you're done, you'll click Save and Continue. That completes that whole section for the student. If you have more than one student, you'll want to click Add New Student and repeat the exact same tabs we just did for each student. If this student that you just finished on is marked in yellow, you want to click on it and see what's missing and then click Save and Continue once you are done. If you just have this one student, such as our test student here, you want to hit Save and Continue. And you're not done yet. The biggest thing is you can certainly click on here. This will give you a summary of what you just put in so you can save it for your records. Otherwise, you are free to hit submit here. It'll ask you if you're sure. You'll click yes. Wait a few seconds here while it takes that in. And again, it tells you you are done completing the online registration and you have one more opportunity to print out the summary there. You also want to jot down this number here, very important, is the application number 123805 in this case. And in case you have any questions, you want to reference that application number in the future. Again, if you have any questions about the OLR or enrollment questions in general, feel free to email enrollment.helpdesk@bvsd.org, or you are free to call 720-561-5247 for more information. Otherwise, this OLR has now been submitted, and I bet you're curious what happens next. So what happens next is either the registrar, if it's a high school student, or the enrollment department will be reviewing the application. They will email you if there's something missing, if they need any type of clarity on the application, and ask you to submit whatever documentation they're asking for. If everything is okay and all the documentation that you submitted is correct, then we are free to process the enrollment. That can take a couple of days depending on how many other applications might be ahead of you. We do process them in the order received, so just know that. The busiest time of year is August, as you can imagine. However, calling for a status does delay things because we're having to take time away from actually enrolling students to answer the phone to answer questions about the status. So just know that once it's submitted, if you don't hear anything, that means we are working on that. You will receive a very basic email once the student has been officially enrolled. At that time, you are free to contact the school itself to get any kind of scheduling questions done, and they can tell you when you're able to start. Thank you so much for listening to this video, and you will have now officially finished the online registration. Thank you very much.